Well, I was back in day therapy yesterday. What is it called? Psychosocial therapy. Oh my god, I haven't been in it since I was a kid, since I was like in my 20s. And it's been a long time since I've been in day treatment. And I just got a day pass, so it wasn't like I'm back in it. But it's interesting how it's changed. Like when I was younger, they were when I was younger, that was when they were defunding all this kind of stuff. They were closing down all the mental hospitals, and like anything to do with mental health was basically being defunded. And it brought back in my mind, like, it was terrible. So let me tell you about that before I go on. Um, it was terrible. It 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 was basically one big room with a bunch of like tables and chairs, and I think they got like 30 people in the room. It was like a big classroom, and right down the center of the classroom there was like a one of those dividers that they can divide the room into two. Like they sometimes have them at churches and stuff, so you can like divide your big room into multiple little rooms, or you know, not concert halls. You know what I'm talking about? Like those little dividers you pull across, and you can turn your big room into smaller rooms. But oh my god, for me, it was torture. So they had like classes, and I came in there, and they had like three classes that I could join, and it was nothing more than sitting there reading and listening to somebody read out from a book, you know, what was written down. And that was torture to me. Like I have reading problems. I can't read or write. And it was like all day of just sitting in front of a book. Like, welcome back to, I'm like fucking 40. I don't need to go back to school. Thank you very much. This is not good. But it gave me something to do for a day. Get tortured. All the things that paranoid me the most. Being in a large room with a lot of people, great for social anxiety. Thank you very much. And then to finish it off, sit and read from a book when I can't read. It greatest therapy ever. Thank you so much. I'm most definitely coming back to this. But so when I was younger, it was they had, I guess, I don't know what happened to all of it. When I was younger, they put you in. I guess it depends. Like if you're in it for you know, if you're in it for mental reasons, like mental illnesses, or if you're in it for learning disabilities and stuff like that, because they have their own special day treatment. And then there's day treatment near me for people with like retardation, like total retardation. And that's mostly like it's another level of need, which I don't need. I I'm at the like this weird spot where I don't really need it for my mental illness. It's mostly I'm at home 24/7, and I have nothing to do, and it makes me severely depressed. And that leads me on to what I was going to talk about. Like, what the hell? I think I said this before in the last video. What the what the hell are they supposed to do with people like me? Like, other than here's your disability check, good luck. What is that like? I know, I am lucky as hell to get what I get. Like there is no, I am not complaining. But oh my god, being on disability and having learning disabilities is the worst. It's the worst because there's not really anything for you out there, right? Some people might like get a job. Well, yeah, but what job? I mean, on disability for a reason. They don't like they used to have day treatment and all that kind of stuff, and it used to be really good. Like the place I went to when I was younger, right? It was a whole campus, and they had like little rooms that you can go into with different treatments and group therapy and all kinds of things, and they had um it was just different treatments all day, and you basically spent most of your day in there, and then you ate lunch there, and they had a whole kitchen with all kinds of stuff. But it was a much bigger facility. The one I went to today or yesterday, it was it was just it was about the size of a small store, and I think they literally just rented a store front and filled it with classroom chairs, and there you go. There's day treatment. There you go, crazy people. There's your psychosocial therapy. It was so bad. It was just it was they did the same thing, right? They gave you lunch, and it was okay. I mean, I could get it down, and then I went home, and I felt worse after than I did going to it. Is like I could have just stayed at home. I don't know. I swear to God, like they just do not know what the hell to do with people like me. And it brought it up in my mind recently. I was watching this YouTube video of them talking about what to do with people with mental illness. And like I'm lucky because I get disability. But there are so many people that are just homeless. They never got the disability. They never got like anything, and they just live out their days. And Trump wants to bring back mental hospitals. Guys, like anybody, like please explain this to me. It's just like everybody complains about there being disability and our lives being paid for because I'm lucky I have it. Like I would have been on the street my whole life if I didn't have disability. And God, I am so fucking lucky that I have disability. But you guys know, like people complain about having to pay for disability, pay their taxes for disability. Do you know how much more expensive it is to put mentally ill people into mental hospitals? This is where I don't get it. There are some people that are just so far gone. They just couldn't even get disability because they were just so mentally ill. They couldn't stay sane enough to get an apartment because you need to live somewhere long enough to be able to get disability. And you look at this stuff and you go, you know what? It would be cheaper to just take a check, give them an apartment, and give them a check every month. The people that are on the streets that have mental illnesses that Trump wants to put into psychiatric hospitals. Do the math. Being in a psychiatric hospital costs minimum $1,000 a day. The day treatment that I went to is cheaper, way cheaper than being in a psychiatric hospital. Way cheaper. So you can, for way less, right? Think about it. $1,000 a day versus $1,000 a month. And maybe it's way cheaper these days. Maybe the long-term facilities are way cheaper. I've been in expensive hospitals and I've been very, very cheap hospitals. The most expensive one that I have ever stayed at was like in the thousands of dollars a day. But that was when I was a kid, and they don't exist anymore. And the long-term treatment, still that's thousands of dollars a month. And it amazes me whenever somebody talks about, like, so what do we do with people with mental illness that are living on the streets? And they always end up with this, well, we can't force them into a mental hospital, and we can't, allow them to live on the streets. So we just don't know what to do. It's like, no, I'm sorry, no. we as a society can do a hell of a lot better than, oh well, we just don't know what to do with these crazy people. How about this? Fast track the people on the street with severe mental illnesses that need to be in hospitals. What you do is you fast track them getting disability. And you fast track them getting housing or getting treatment. Day treatment, something to do. And that money, when you spend money, when the government spends money, the money doesn't magically disappear. They don't spend it. Government money doesn't disappear when they spend it. Government money goes into the private sector as well. And when you spend money for people like me, you give jobs to people. Not only do you give me something to do that keeps me from doing stupid shit, people like me, you give people jobs that do the psychiatry and all that kind of stuff. And then you end up with a better society. And it is cheaper to give people a check and say, here's your apartment, than putting people in a psychiatric hospital. But Trump wants to put us all in a crazy house. So, I mean, people talk about how expensive it is for disability and how much they don't want to pay for it, but they cheer for putting crazy people in psychiatric hospitals. And you know what? In the end, and people, all these people that are against psychiatric hospitals, like, oh my god, they used to be horrible. Well, they used to be horrible because they keep on doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. They overcrowd these facilities. They underpay the staff members. They don't pay for the treatments. And remember, the underpayment is still way fucking more expensive. They're just giving people a fucking check and going, here's your apartment, good luck. It's not the greatest thing for us because, well, there's nothing to fucking do when you get a check every month. But it's way cheaper than putting people in a mental facility. But people complain because they were bad on people in mental hospitals. Well, in the way that you solve for that is you pay for it. And that's not going to be cheap. Like I said, it's going to be way more expensive than just giving everybody a check. So, KISS making this thing cheap. I mean, it's not giving people a disability check, so you got that, Republicans. Congratulations. You're not saving money. Like, I made a video a while back about this. And they're not even saying... So, it costs money to leave people on the street. It's not cheap to let people... Like, it's not cheap to let schizophrenics hang out on the street. It affects society. It affects the schizophrenic. It affects the companies in the area that have to deal with the schizophrenic talking to themselves outside their business. It affects everybody. But and I look at it as like, well, what do we do after we get disability? Shit, they haven't even got past what do we do to make sure people like me aren't on the streets. They haven't even got past that, let alone what do these crazy people do all day? Because what Trump is doing right now is just going to lead us back into the cycle of mental hospitals underfunding, defunding, people coming up with excuses to defund it because it's expensive as hell, and then removing the people from mental hospitals again to once again throw them out on the street. And that's the cycle we're going into. And at least they're doing something. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. I guess another cycle of throwing people into mental hospitals is better than just leaving them on the street. And I've been in those hospitals. I've been in the hospital that was one of those very well known hospitals for mistreatment. Shit, I'm on their Facebook page. It wasn't as bad as most people think. But of course, I hate to tell you this. Any place where you put, I don't know, 40, 50 schizophrenics, any place that you do that is not going to be the funnest place to be. People go, oh my god, mental hospitals are horrible. It's like, how good do you expect it to be? Do you expect it to be um, heaven? Did you expect putting a bunch of crazy people into a building was going to turn out to be a good time? Oh well. They, me, myself, the best solution for the money that they want to actually pay for it and all that kind of stuff, just give them a check. Find them apartments, give them checks. You won't have the problem with a bunch of schizophrenics on the street no more. But they're not going down that route. They're going down the expensive route, the cycle of putting people into mental hospitals, drugging them up, because that's what's going to happen when you put a bunch of crazy people into a hospital. What's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with a lot of people on Thorazine. That's just part of being in a facility. I was on Thorazine when I was younger. It's just part of being in a facility, because you put a bunch of crazy people in a small room and you leave them there for days on end. Crazy people are going to crazy. And how they manage the emotions of crazy people is to drug them and keep them controllable. You know, and I'll say this again, it's just cheaper to give everybody a check. It is just, and Republicans don't want to do it because it's welfare. It goes into, you know, it's everything they hate. It's everything they Republicans hate about the system. Even though it's the cheapest way to deal with people like me. Me, not as a mentally ill person, but a person with learning disabilities. The cheapest and most efficient way to deal with a bunch of people with both mental illnesses and learning disabilities and all that kind of stuff. The cheapest way to deal with it is to give them a check, find them an apartment, put them into day treatment, and there you go. What they're doing right now is the most expensive way to deal with it. And the reason why they want to deal with it this way is because it's not welfare. They're not giving them a check. Even though it'll cost them thousands and thousands of dollars a week. It per person. It's madness. I do, and our society was like, well, what do we do with crazy people? Not this. I go back to, at least they're doing something. If I had the choice between living on the street and living in a mental hospital, I'd pick the mental hospital every day. I'd be like, give me the Thorazine and throw me in a mental hospital. I don't give a shit. Because the fuck I would never want to live in the street, man. I would never. I've lived in mental hospitals. I would never want to live in the fucking street. When they closed down the mental hospitals back in the 80s, they didn't give a lot of people the option. They were like, We're closing them down. Sucks to be you. Get the fuck out. And a lot of people were literally just thrown to the curb. And when they did that, they didn't just close the mental facilities. They defunded mental facilities. They defunded the day treatments for people that are living at home. They defunded the mental health facilities. Like every city, like the city I at least lived in, had the mental department. They defunded that. They defunded everything. And then we end up in the situation we're in today, where it's like, we just don't know. What do we do with all these people? It's like, no, we know what to do with these people. We know what to do. This isn't hard. I'm not the most bright person in the world. I can figure this out. You can figure this out too. The cheapest way to do it, when you give these people the most freedom, when you're the most efficient with your money, so that you're not wasting the tax dollar, you're not wasting the taxpayer's dollar. You're getting people off the streets. You're making the streets better. You're saving money because you're not paying for all the cleanups and the homeless problems and the store closures and the cities that are just turned into rubble. Like, there are cities in our country that are worthless because of homelessness. Well, that won't exist as much. Just give them a check. It's not that hard. It's cheap. It's efficient. It gets the job done. And you basically go, if you can't find your own apartment, we will find one for you. We will pay for it. You will get a little check every month, which will pay for your food and something to do. You're not going to sit on the street all day. You're not going to you're not going to turn the cities into rubble because there are schizophrenics everywhere. That's the way you deal with it. But like I said, they're not dealing with it that way because they're Republicans. And fucking Republicans will never do it the right way. Because in order to do it the right way, you have to give in to people like us getting a check. And that is too damn close to welfare for these people. And there you go. And that's how Republicans burn tons of your money and get a worse result. Congratulations, pay more taxes on your way out. Until the next time, bye.